So this is a series we are doing with the mobile initiative for the interns. So basically, the first day we cover like the basic aspect of React Native and what are the main components and what's the difference between native and hybrid application. So today we are going to go forward with the React Native and going to cover main components like today the main points too is navigation and the Redux. So the first half we will be cover the navigation part. Basically we will do some navigation demos between navigate between two screens and stuff, and the tab and drawer screens. And also we'll go forward with the React navigation library and do some explanation on there as well. And the second half will be covered. Second half will be cover with Redux, basically state management. So introduction to Redux and what Redux middleware is and what Redux Purse is, like the things we cover on the state management. So the first half, so let's without delay, let's go to the first half, which is navigation. So basically for the introduction, the navigation is actually the main part of mobile development, because every application, every small application will have a navigator, like even the small list view or something, we can put the navigator. So it's a required feature for mobile development. So basically, when we consider React Native, there's a two type of navigator. The first one is a JavaScript navigator, and the other one is native navigator. The difference between these navigator is like the JavaScript navigator is completely managed and handled from the JavaScript side. So there is no native configuration needed for run this navigator. And because of that, it's like we can simply install it, and it provide many build navigators we can easily get and use it. And also it is highly customizable and easy to use. And the a disadvantage is like it's less performant than a native navigator, since it's only running on the JavaScript side. So like if we go with the native components, it will be more faster than that. So the main like a popular library for that JavaScript navigator is a React navigation. Actually, the React Native also recommended this navigation, so we will move forward with that library on next slides. And the other part is the native navigator. So basically, the native navigator is handled through the native component. So it's like more faster than the JavaScript navigators. But the problem is like for the non-native developers, it's like hard to install and hard to use it. But if you are coming from the native side, you can easily use that and easily integrate with the application. And also it has some complexity with the JavaScript plugins we use for like other aspect like state management and stuff. It has some complexity since it with the native configurations. So that's a basic idea about the two type of navigators. We will go with the JavaScript navigator since it's easily install, easily we can easily install it and easily use it, and it's a recommended one. Okay, so you guys got idea about how navigator works on and what are the type of navigator. So let's dive into the navigation JavaScript navigator, which is React navigation. This is the very popular navigation. So when we go the official site, it has a pretty good documentation. We can go through the each aspect and we can easily use it. And like it has some like snack integrated as well, so we can test it right away. And it has a lot of versions. Each version has a many differentiate between like many differentiate on each version. Like in the 5 and 4 has a many differences. So if we migrate to 4 to 5, it has many differences. So you have to learn backcode, learn again how to implement it. So since the 5 is the newest one, we will go with the 5. Um, so for integrate the React navigation to your project, you require the dependencies called React Native Reanimated, React Native Gesture Handler, React Native Screens, and these 5 libraries is prerequisite. We need to install before we going to install React navigation, since these are help to do some gesture handling, animation, and move between screens. So you guys need to install these libraries before you using the React navigation. Okay, going forward, the first navigator type it provide is Stack Navigator. Stack Navigator it is the simplest navigator they provide. It's actually basically the thing is it help us to transition between two screens and also help to manage navigation history. So, like the name says, it's like work as a stack. Basically, a push and pop item from the stack. So when we go to a screen, it will push a screen to a stack. When we come back, it will pop item from the screen. So it's like a stack. Um, Based on that, we can actually manage the navigation history. And also it provide a good gesture and animation we expect from the native Android and iOS. So it like a slightly, it will show like a native app ultimately. So this is a simple one. So let's dive into a demo. This demo will be cover how we need to move between two screens and how we can passing parameters to one screen to other. Uh, so you guys can. So this is the first demo. So you guys now have some idea about how to install how to start React Native application, right? In the last session we covered that. So basically this is app.js is the main file we have. So this is like a very easy to install. So just we need to create a two screens like you guys see now. We have a first screen and we have a second screen, right? So for that I create a screen folder. So in that screen folder we have a screen which is first screen, which is a functional component, and it's just a render a text, and it has a button to go move between screens. And there's a second screen. It's also have a text and the two buttons. When what we do is in the app folder, we will get that screen. We will import that screens from the top. So it will come as a component, and then we need to get install React navigation stack. So when we go through the documentation, you guys know that what we need to install if we want to go with the stack navigator. So React navigation stack is the library they provide to handle the stack navigator. The previous versions, the React navigation library inside all the stack tab and row are included, but now with the 5 version, it separate all the navigators to different libraries. So we get that React navigation stack navigator, and this is a function we use to create a stack. So basically, we create a stack on the top of the application, and then we inside our application we put the native navigation container. This component need to put if we want to handle the navigation. This is actually coming from the React navigation core library. So we need to import this to our project, and we need to wrap that all navigator from it. Then it will work. So basically, there's you guys can see it's very simple. So we what we do is we create a navigate container, and inside that we define our stack navigator and initial route. So that will render with the first screen, and then we will put our two screen. If we have 5 screens, we need to just put it as a, stack screen and put the all screens one by one. So this is a simply installation. The repos can be found on the main repo we have done on last session. So what we do is like if we go to the first screen, there's a button to go to the second screen. So if we click that go to screen, it will just navigate to the second screen. This is the method. Like when we do the web implementation, there's a link tag and a tag. We just need to show the route. Like same thing. We just need to write the component name. We just need to go. But this component need to be defined on the app.js to did that. Like we like put the name and put the second component defined on here. Based on that, we can go to the second screen. So if we go click that, it will go to second screen. And the other thing is I mentioned that in the stack navigator, we can actually handle the history of the stack. So with that we can actually put that this kind of a back button. So if we click the back button, it will go to the previous screen. It's just pop up the screen and go to the back. And also we can do get that as a function as well. So if we go back, it will go to the back screen. So all are implemented in the second screen. So if we click the go back, it will go to the previous screen. It's a simple screen. Yeah, that's the simplest stack navigator. Okay, let's move into how we can pass the parameters between screens. For that, actually the navigation function, the first parameter is what is the screen, and the second parameter will be the data we need to pass. So I will just commit it out and put this, disable this comment, and you can see what we did was we say that this we need to go to this component, and what these are the parameters we need to pass. So it's like item ID and other params. So basically, and when we save it and go to second screen, and we if we want to get that two parameters we pass from the first screen, we need to use a route parameter, and then we have to get that on here, and then we can use it inside that, something like that. So if we save it and go to the second screen, you guys can see the parameters we pass are showing here. So we can pass anything from here like 90, 00, anything like that. Okay, give me error. Um, the mouse error. Um, okay, let's keep it that way. I think it has some issue when I change it. Maybe the value I added. So basically what happens here is like if you give the pass a parameter, it will go to second screen and we can catch it on there. Yeah, that's a simple stack navigator and how we can pass the parameters on there. Okay, so let's go to the second type they provide, which is a tab navigator. So you guys all know that the tab navigator is the most popular navigator we use a mobile application. Like every popular mobile application has that kind of implementation. So they easily give us a option to integrate the tab navigator to our application. So we can either configure it to top of the application or the bottom of the application. So let's dive into a demo of that. So let's switch back to the this, okay, now we are on the tab navigator. So when we go to the app.js, it's like the same way we did on the stack navigator. We just need to import it from here. So previously we get it from React Navigation stack. Now for the bottom tab, we need to get it from the bottom tab library. And for the create a bottom tab, it's as a create bottom navigator function. So we get that function and create a tab. Like same thing. The first screen has only the text. Second screen has also have a text on mention that what's name of the screen. So likewise, the previously we just create a stack.navigator. Now it's a tab.navigator. So the same thing, the everything will be renamed as a tab. So it's like behave like a tab onward. So like you can see this, I go to the second one here. It's move to second screen. I go to the first, it will move to first screen. So we can move back between, like we can add any screens like the in the presentation we can as like we can design any cool features buttons and stuff. Let's add the small changes to the design of the tab navigator. If I convert it to this one. Okay, so this what did I was what I did was like I can add actually the icon for the tab. So every tab navigator will have an icon on here, so I can easily integrate icon. So the parameter for the option for is the tab bar icon. So for the tab bar icon, we can add the focused when we can get the parameters for if it focused or not. If like what is the color parameter we need to pass, what is the size parameter we need to pass, we can get it and we can just assign values for that. So basically, if the route name is first, so the route name will be the things we define on here. So if the route name is first, we can put this kind of icon. If it's a focus, we can put a different icon. If it is not focus, we can put a different icon. Stuff like we can highly customize the tab bar on here. And also we can put sizes, we can put colors. So active color, we can put something for the inactive color, we can put gray, so it will affect all the things. If we put this something like this, it will affect to all the tab icons in once. So likewise we can customize tab easily on here. So that's the actually basic tab navigation. Is really simply thing to do, and simply we can install it and we can use it right away. Okay, so let's go back to the other things it provide actually. So you guys know that in mobile application it's provide the cool navigator features like drawer navigators, like other main thing. So we can go between screens like this, and also we provide a nested navigator, which means like in your application you need to have a drawer, tab, and all the stack navigator. We can nest it out like. Inside the drawer it has a tab, and then it's a stack, like we can create a hierarchy of navigators based on that. And also we can handle authentication flows, like based on the permission we can hide it out some screen for the users, we can show some screen of the users like that likewise. And also we can put theme in, like you guys see that this image, like it has a theme, so cool theme to theming for the all navigators we have. And also state persistent, which means like some application need to store the last seen page of the user. Like if user close the application and come back, you can directly go to the page he was in previously and show it that it's like a cool feature for user. So we can do some kind of persistent as well with the React navigation. And also localization, it support language support, we can use any language on the navigator. And also there's a many more features. If you guys go to the documentation, it has a lot of cool features included here. Yeah, so basically that's all the things I need to I hope to cover on this session. Yeah, so the second half will be Redux. Before going to that, if you guys have any question, you can ask now, so I can answer it right away. Any questions, guys? Okay, I just added like a simply draw navigator as well. It's how we can easily handle it the same way. Like a tab, we just need to get it from the React navigation drawer and then create a drawer navigator and then put the screens. So it's like a handle as a drawer navigator. So if we go to second screen, it will go to second, and if we go to the first, it will come back to first. And also it provides some functions to manually open it. Like if you want to put some button on here and manually toggle the drawer, we can do as well. Like navigation dot open drawer will open the drawer manually. Like if we click that, it will open the drawer, and if you toggle, it will also toggle open and close the drawer. So it's a really simple tool. Just need to get the different kind of libraries and integrate to application. Yeah, that's it for the navigation. If you guys have no question, I think we can move to the Redux part.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. In the previous session, Nirodha gave a quick introduction into what and props and Redux is. So today I will go look further into what Redux is and give a small example on the implementation as well. So first, let's remind ourselves on basics of for the Redux. So what is Redux? Basically, it's a library which provides the state container for the JavaScript apps, and also it provides a centralized state to manage the application state. So basically, if you state of the application, you need to do it via actions. So why do you need Redux? So basically, um, If you are using a small application, then you can obviously just use the one screen and pass in the state from the parent to the child components as props, similar to the previous demo we did. But in practical scenario, uh, usually a lot of features add in and the state usually grows. So in order to handle this complexity, Redux helps us to manage a global state. So for that, from that we actually can access the state from the application. So then I will go through what are the main things. So with this introduction, you will be able to easily understand the implementation. So action is basically a plain JavaScript object with the field type. So as you can see here, for all the actions we have type. So the data provided here is optional. So you can see it has different names. So type is required. So you can add a string value to the type, and it is best to like create a similar pattern for the type string as a best practice. So what are action creators? Action creator is a function basically that returns the action object. So as you can see, the return object is similar to the object we have mentioned here. It returns the type and also the payload passed by the function. Then we have reducers. So what are reducers? Reducers is a like a pure function that receives the current state and the action then returns a new state. So when it comes to reducers, there are few important points. So basically, reducers don't handle side effects. Side effects like calling APIs and modifying non-local objects. And also, since it's a pure function, we don't call non-pure functions there. Things like a date.now and math.random. So those things can differ based on the situation, right? So these things will not be used. And also when it's come to Redux, one of the important things is that we don't mutate the state. Basically, that's why when we are returning the state, we always make sure to return a new state. So that enables us to basically handle data safe and also enables us to debug between the different states. So then we come to store. So store is the place where we store the application state, and it's basically a object with a few helper methods. And for you to create the store, you need to import create store from Redux library. So as you can see, we can pass in the reducer to the create store and create the store there. So here there's a simple diagram just for you to make it clear the data flow there. So usually whatever the action will be dispatched is from the UI. So dispatch is another helper method taken from the store, and once you dispatch the action, it will reach the store and then the reducer. And what reducer will do is take the current state, and then if you pass in a data, then it will use the data and return the new state. Then from that state, the UI will be updated. So let's look into the implementation. So when it's come to installation, there's two ways you can actually access the Redux functionalities, uh, Redux Toolkit and Redux Core. So Redux Toolkit is the latest version, and here you, apart from the Redux Core, you get a few other functionalities as well. But since you guys are beginners, I recommend you to use the Redux Core because it basically has a clear explanation on the actions and reducers we have used in the slides. And then also another thing that we need is React Redux, which enables us to basically connect the store to our application component. So let's have a look into the current state of the application. So as previously, I have the movie screen here. So previously what we did was we got the data from the movie list, and then we straightly pass the data to the flat list. So our aim is to basically set the data to the Redux store and access that data from the Redux store without directly accessing from here. So I have already installed the two dependencies here. So what I will do first is I will create an action creator. So basically I have created a store folder here just to add in all the store related files there. So as you can see, implemented a set movies action creator. So similar to the example I have given, there's a type called set movies, and here we have the payload which we will be setting the data value, right? Then we will be creating Redux. Redux is basically a PO function where passes the current state. And when you're passing the current state, when you basically initialize the app, you need to set the initial state of that reducer. So this can be basically a empty object, or you can set the property of what you want to a empty array as well. So you need to assign the initial state, and then we will be passing the action. So for our movie set, we will be passing this action, right? So then when you go inside the reducer function, you have a switch case method, and there you have the action type. So action type is this section. So if it doesn't match any of the cases here, we have the default part where it basically returns the current state. So if it matches, then what we do is we return a new state. So for that, we use the spread operator and then take the existing state and set the movies using the action payload, because we are passing the data as the payload here, right? So the next thing what we need to do is basically connect the, so we have basically action creators, reducers. Now we need to create the store. So in order to create the store, you can import the create store function and basically import the reducer you have created earlier and pass in the reducer. So let's say there's a situation where you need to have multiple reducers. Let's say you have a user login. So you need to have a user reducer as well apart from movies reducers. So then what you would do is basically combine all reducers here and pass in the root reducer here. So that will be available for the applicant. Since I'm only having movies reducer, I will uncomment it. And then now we have the store. So what we need to do is, according to this, we should be able to access the state to the component, right? So in order to access the state from the component, what we need to do is we need to import provider. So what is provider? Provider basically makes a Redux store available to any nested component that basically have wrapped with the connect function. So what we need to do is get the application root component and wrap it with the provider. And for that, we need to assign the state we created earlier. So this is the state we store we created earlier, and we can basically assign it here. So now what we need to do is basically access the movie state from the movie screen. So first what we need to do is we need to connect the movie screen to the Redux store. All right. So first we need these imports, and then connecting will be used to connect the state, and then bind action creators will be used to bind the actions to our screen props. So I have imported the movies action as well. So in the bottom of the screen, I will be creating two methods where one is map state to props. So here state is the global state of the application. So what we're going to do is basically set the only needed states from the global state. So for this, what we need is state.movies. So we will be mapping the state to props called movies, right? So next we have map dispatch to props. here, what I'm doing is taking the movies action and basically wrapping it with the dispatch function. And then what we need to do is basically connect these two functions to the movie screen. So we'll uncomment this and comment this out, right? So so we are still getting the data from the static value here, like from the list here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that and access the state value. So since we map the movies to props here, we can simply access state movies from the props. So I will assign that here. Yeah. So as you can see, since we didn't update the state yet, it is empty because initially we entered the empty array, right? So next what we need to do is we need to get the movies action, and then we need to use a React hook to basically trigger this action methods on component mount. So basically, hook is a new addition from the React. They basically provide the React features for our functional components. And if we actually add an empty array like this, it will be similar to a component did mount from the class component. So when it's mounted, this action will be set, and it's basically calls this action and pass in the data as a payload. So if I save this, you can see again we are accessing the state here. A state is properly updated. So that is basically a quick change on the how we can access the data from the Redux. So next we will look into Redux middleware and its side effects. So basically, Redux store only knows how to synchronously dispatch actions and update the state by calling the root reducer. Right. So if you want to basically do side effects, you can take a API call. So there are common situations like that. So in order to use API calls, you can't use the synchronous method for that because it takes more time and the dispatch action will not wait for that. So for that, we need to a way to basically handle the asynchronous behavior of that. So for that, what we will be using is the action creator and also a middleware function to basically do the async behavior. So what is a middleware function? It's basically a carried function where it has it's basically a function returns a function that again returns another function. So when you consider store, it's basically the Redux store that will be passing. And when it's come to next, it's the function that will be called once the all the assigned task will be completed from the custom middleware. Then of course at the end we have the action that will be dispatched. And then we have a few options there. Either you can create a custom middleware the way you want, or you can get already implemented third-party libraries. So few options are Redux Thunk and Redux Saga. Those are very well-known options. So it will make it easier to implement as well. But in order to give a better idea on the middleware function, I will do the custom middleware. Right. So I have created a separate. Let me switch the branch. Right. Yeah. So I will go to the action creators. So first we need to create an action creator that calls the API. So first thing what we need to do is basically since we are only having the local data, I have used sync basically a JSON server to host the existing test data as a API. So I can basically retrieve the data from this. URL, and I have hosted it under test data. So we are hosting this file basically. Yeah. So what we need to do is basically call the API and retrieve the data and then update the state of the application, right? So here I have created a action creator called fetch movies, which basically returns a function. So the difference here is this action creator returns an object that is the action. So instead, here we are basically returning another function, right? So we need to have the middleware to handle this asynchronous behavior. For that, what we are going to do is we are going to create a custom middleware. So I will uncomment this. So this is basically the custom middleware we have created. And as you can see, we have all the parameters passed in. And what we're doing is basically the difference between the action creators from the previous is the function and the action. So we check whether the action is a function, and if so, then we add in the different behavior where we pass in the dispatch and get state. Or else, if it's a normal one, then we continue to the redux as normal. So for that, we are using the next function. So then we create a store enhancer to dispatch the method of Redux store. For that, we are using the apply middleware from Redux and get the middleware enhancer. That we need to assign into our create store. Right. So we have completed that. Now what we need to do is basically call the movies from so as of now, what we are doing is basically accessing the state from uh, props, which is from the Redux store. So what we need to do is instead of basically setting the data here, we need to use the API call. So for that, we are going to call this method. And since it's getting the data, we don't need to have data here. Yeah. So as you can see, it basically calls this method, and then it's going to call the API method, and from the response we are getting the JSON data, and then we are setting the movies from this method. So only additional step will be this, right? So and also apart from that, if you want to set a loading icon or another state, you can dispatch any other action from here as well. So if you're going to fetch a movies and then you want to set the loading true, then you can set it as true here. So this is similar to set movies as well. So after you retrieve the data, you set movie loading as false. So as you can see, now we are not actually accessing any data values from here. We are basically retrieving all the values from the API. So that's the main implementation change. And I will go through a basic yeah. So I will go through the uh, diagram here as well. So apart from the difference here, basically the middleware will be added in between the dispatch and the reducer. So once you dispatch the action creator, then you get the action, and then it will be going into the middleware section where it retrieves the API and get the data value and then update the reducer. So everything else will be working as similar to the previous implementation. Yeah. So next, another thing that you should look into is Redux persist. So I'll just give a small introduction on this. So Redux persist is to take your Redux state and persist in the local storage. And basically, if you close the application and reopen the application, it will the stored state will be gone. So if you want to store the state, then you can basically use Redux persist, and this will be basically useful when you actually want to implement offline functionality, or you want to keep certain data without again calling from the API. This will be very useful, so it's better if you guys look into this as well. So that's about it. And also this is the uh, thing I explained earlier. So where the API middleware will be added between dispatch and the reducer. So I hope you guys got a good understanding on that.